Hi, I'm Andy and welcome to my channel about crypto. In today's video I want to talk about the current market situation and what we can expect in the next few days. I think it's an important time in the current market and next few days may be quite bumpy, or at least they may not entirely be what some people may expect. So I think it's important to discuss it. Let's have a look at Bitcoin first. So of course the thing to discuss here is the drop we had early last week. After finally breaking above 50k and what looked like establishing 50k as a support and breaking from daily RSI downtrend, which I'll talk about later as well, we had the drop in the price, and well, since then we've been going largely sideways around 46k level. So there are two important things here, good and bad one. Bad one is of course that, well, we are back where we were in early or mid-August, that 46k level. As you can see, we are the last 5-6 days been pretty much range bound around those prices. The good thing is that we stayed at that level. We didn't just crash all the way down. So that shows that there is still quite bullish sentiment in the market. So basically this should be just a slight setback on the way up. We are still on track for the golden cross. If I change from candles to line for a moment and zoom in, if we look at the dark blue line and green line, they should cross within the next couple of days or so. So that's 50-day SMA going above 200-day SMA, which is generally a very bullish sign. However, this may be quite a surprise to some people. It doesn't necessarily mean that we'll go up straight after that. That's the important thing to remember. Depending on what news influencers you follow, you may think that, okay, well, the moment golden cross happens, we're just on the way up. Most likely it will be actually just the opposite in short term. So golden cross is likely to occur within the next couple of days. But what will happen then is, if we zoom out, if we look at the last time when golden cross happened, that was in May last year. And then if we zoom into that, so yeah, if we look at blue line going above green, that was I think the 20th of May, we actually had a couple of red candles. If we measure that movement, that was around 11% drop in price, which at current prices, that would be around 4,500, even more, down from the current price. So that would take us to, well, roughly 40k. Not only that, when it happened, we had then a couple of days of sideways movements and then another drop. And then we slowly started recovering. And here's the thing, we had very long sideways movement. So yeah, we had our golden cross here, deep, then we went up quite a bit, and then essentially we just remained range bound for all this period here. That was from 20th of May until, well, that was pretty much the moment when the prices started going up and continued going up. That was 21st of July, so whole 2 months later. And even after that, we went up for a while and then crashed again. When we then tested 20-week SMA over a period of few weeks, that's the purple line here. And only after that, if we zoom out, that's when we had that massive parabolic move up towards the end of last year. So we had essentially here good few months of sideways movement. I mean, that took us all the way until October. So basically the whole period from May until October, we were either going slightly up, slightly down, or sideways. Yeah, I mean, we had this nice move up here, but that was cancelled a few weeks later. And then we started from the same level again. I don't think it will take quite this long this time. Of course, every cycle is slightly different. What happened back then also we had, only a couple months earlier, we had that massive crash due to the beginning of the pandemic. But it is important to remember that it's not necessary just straight move up. In fact, this was anything but a straight move up. If we go even further into the past, again, we had blue line crossing green here, only a little bit earlier in the year. So that was actually green candle on the day of the golden cross, followed by a red one, followed by a few days of sideways movement, followed by the crash. And again, if we look at this crash, if we measure it, that's around 15-16%. So again, at current prices, that's around 7-8 grand deep, if not more, which would take us to mid to high 30s, which I'm sure would freak out a lot of people. And actually that would take us well below 20-week SMA. Of course, it is possible that we will just go up. If I remember correctly, it was the previous golden cross that did just that. So blue going above green, couple of green candles, a couple of red ones, bit of sideways movement, and then a very solid move up from $5,000 Bitcoin all the way up to around 8,500. So yeah, that scenario is also possible. But even here we see that actually sort of week after the golden cross was move down and sideways movement. So what I'm trying to say is, don't be surprised if within the next couple of days we won't see just a parabolic move up or any move up, in fact. If we look at the previous market cycles, I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see a bit of a dip, and where we currently are and where is currently our 20-week SMA, which is just under 42,000, 41.5. Well, that's our bull market support level, or one of the support levels, but one that's commonly used as a support level for bull market. If we see around 10% dip from current prices, that would actually take us right down to that level, more or less. So it could be a great test of 20-week SMA, great way to test our support band. And as I showed you earlier, last time when that happened here, well, the next thing that happened was a parabolic move up. So what I'm hoping that will happen is what happened here, but on much shorter time frame. We will see a bit of a dip over maybe the next week or so, and I wouldn't be surprised if next week, couple of weeks, will be about testing that 42k level roughly. So I wouldn't be surprised if we move in a 42 to 45k or 40 to 46k band. And if that happens, if we hold 42k level, then I think from that point onwards, it will be a move up. It will be a very strong move up. If we break below it, it's not the end of the world. It may mean that we'll have to wait a little bit longer for that move up. The downside is that altcoins get absolutely obliterated, as it's usually the case when Bitcoin goes a bit bearish. So if you have large position in altcoins, it may be quite a stressful period of time, but it will be a great moment to accumulate Bitcoin, Ether, all the layer 1 coins. So as long as you have some spare cash to invest, it's actually not such a bad thing. It will put you in a much better position when the market finally turns and we start going up. So another thing to remember is that when we do start going up, if we look at this movement here, we had some really big dips here. If we look at, let's say, this one here, or this one. So yeah, we're starting from sort of 11,000 level somewhere in October. and had a pretty steady move up, but that was right here around 16% dip or so. This right here, whoops, this right here was another over 20% dip. If we started going for new all-time highs, sort of, let's say maybe around 80k or so, well, 10 or 15% dip, that would be around $8,000 to $12,000. If we start approaching 100k and we have 20% pullback, well, that's 20k. That's going to freak out a lot of people. So that's something worth keeping in mind, that as Bitcoin price increases, any pullbacks will be probably quite freaky, especially for people who hasn't been in the space for a very long time and didn't have time to get used to it. So yeah, one way or another, I expect quite a bumpy ride, but overall long term, well, we are still early in the market cycle. I don't think we go bear for a year or anything like that anytime soon. But I think the next days and next weeks may be quite bumpy, and especially if you are expecting it's golden cross, we're above 20-week SMA, we're just going up, that may not necessarily be the case. And yeah, don't worry if it's not the case. If anything, it's actually expected. The important thing is that we hold that 20-week SMA, so roughly 41.5, 42k level as support, and as long as we don't break below it, it's all good in my opinion. Another thing I want to talk about is ADA. We had a successful release of smart contracts on the mainnet yesterday, and well, ADA hit new all-time highs only a couple of weeks ago. Then of course we had a dip in the market here. Then it was going back up quite nicely to around $2.80 level. And since then it's been trading below 250, as expected really. Buy the rumor, sell the news. Although smart contracts were successfully deployed on the mainnet, which is of course great, because if they weren't, that would probably cause quite a noticeable dip. From what I've seen, there was also a lot of caution and managing expectations regarding of what's possible or what's likely to happen next. So essentially, I would expect now ADA to go sideways for quite a while people figure out actually how smart contracts can be used, what works well, what doesn't, how they have to adjust their development and so on. Basically, ADA is moving more from a theoretical idea with potential to something with actual use case, and that use case, at least initially, is probably going to be somewhat disappointing comparing to what people were expecting. So I wouldn't be surprised if because of that we'll see a bit of correction, bit of sideways movement. Well, we've seen a bit of a correction. Price dipped around 20% from the all-time high, so we may not necessarily dip even further, but I wouldn't be surprised if the price won't go up for a while. My expectation is still for ADA to reach somewhere between $8 and $12 at some point in this market cycle, but I think this is likely to be quite late in this cycle. So I would expect it to be well into 2022. If you may remember from some of my previous videos, I'm estimating that the peak of this cycle is likely to be somewhere in spring or summer next year, so spring or summer 2022, and most likely it will follow the usual pattern. Bitcoin will peak first, then ETH, then then other top 10 altcoins, and then lower and lower market caps. In other words, I expect ADA to peak after Bitcoin, after ETH. So yeah, probably around summer next year, but we'll see how it goes. That's all I wanted to talk about in today's video. So just to summarize, I don't expect Bitcoin to start going up straight after the golden cross. The golden cross is likely to occur within the next couple of days, but if anything, I expect a few days of down movement or Bitcoin going sideways and then hopefully move up. Although I wouldn't be surprised if this sideways movement is slightly longer. I'm still looking at the weak SMA as the support level, and it's important that Bitcoin holds it. And I'm expecting ADA to go sideways for a while. These are the main things at the moment. In terms of altcoins and everything else, well, of course, NFTs, gaming, that is still quite hot, although the volume of transaction is down from where it was in August, but that's a separate thing to look at. A lot of alts, essentially they follow what Bitcoin does. As long as Bitcoin can hold that 20-week SMA as support level, we may see a bit of an altcoin season if Bitcoin goes sideways. But if Bitcoin breaks below it, below 42k level, that can drag alts down quite a bit. So I think a lot of people are waiting currently to see what will happen next. My suggestion is play it safe at the moment. I'm happy with where we are. I'm hoping for a move up, but also I have some cash prepared in case we dip below 42k level, because there will be some great buying opportunities then. But at the same time, it will be quite scary for those who hold quite a lot of altcoins, whose portfolio consists mainly of altcoins, because of course they will take the biggest hit. So yeah, I think that's it for now. Hope you found this video useful, and see you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye.